Hello, hello, hello. I am having a bit of a technical difficulty with my video. I am working on it. I don't think that if I'm not on camera that it will impact today's live. But I definitely want to make sure that I'm able to get on. So gonna give it a couple of minutes here and then we'll get started. All right, there we go. So let's see if we can get this going properly. You know how, like, when you're looking at yourself in your camera and it shows you inverted, it always is so weird. There we go. All right. We got another minute and then we will go ahead and get started. All right. I want to thank everyone so much for joining. If you're in my live and you can hear me, can you give me a thumbs up? Let me know that you can hear me. I want to thank everyone. If you are new to the channel, welcome. If you are returning to the channel, welcome back. Today's deal is actually the same deal as last Wednesday. However, we've had some really significant updates regarding this cruise. And so we're going to go ahead and start talking about it, okay? So this is the Transatlantic Cruise that is leaving from Southampton, London, and it is traveling to Port Canaveral with a sail date of November 5th. Okay, so you're going to visit Portland, England, Vigo, Spain, Madeira, Portugal, and then you're also going to go to the Canary Islands. This is a 15-day cruise with 4 ports, 10 sea days, and it's on the Sky Princess. Last Wednesday, when I first reported this deal, an interior cabin was $977 per person. Now, the price itself has increased a little. However, let's talk about it. So, last week it was $977 per person, so you're basically looking, let's just call it $1,900. Let's just give it a good, nice, round, even number. That was for two people, right? Well, now you can get four people in that interior cabin, and the total cabin price is $2,424. Now, the way that this deal is written, the promotion is written with Princess, is that the first two people sail at $1,052, and that includes your port taxes and fees. You would also get a $30 onboard credit for the first and second person. And the second person would also pay the $1,052. But if you got four people in that cabin, third and fourth guest sail free. And they are only technically responsible for their port fees and their taxes, which is $160 per person. Now, for me, if you've watched my channel, you'll hear me talking about the Core 4. That's my travel group, which if you are interested in traveling and you know that you're traveling on a budget, right? It's good to, number one, know your budget, but then it's also good to have, people who you might want to travel with, who you enjoy being with, you enjoy traveling with them. You all have a lot of the same travel styles. Maybe you enjoy going to the same places. You have a lot of the same interests. And you have the ability, the time, the money, the effort to go on vacation. It's good if you can get yourself a core. And that core could be 2 people, it could be 3 people, it could be 4 people. I think it's good for it to be even, because then let's say if there are 2 people who want to do one thing and 2 people want to go do something else, they can go do it. Or even if when you're traveling as your group, you all still break off and go, do your own things, different excursions and things like that. You can still do that. But there's safety in numbers, right? So that's always great. And when I did my very first cruise, it was a Carnival cruise back in 1996. And my best friend and I, we were the first and second person in that room, and we paid the higher fare. My mom and my sister were the third and fourth person in the room, and they paid a reduced fare. And then my sister's best friend was also in the room, and she paid the lowest fare. Like, she literally went for like $99. But she also had to sleep on a cot, like a trundle bed. It was a folding bed. And so her only paying $99, that was fair, right? Because the rest of us had regular beds. We either had the bottom bunk or we had the top berth. So it was fair. But I realized something. Just because the cruise carrier says they break your charges out individually doesn't mean that you can't take the entire cost of the cabin and divide it by the number of people in the cabin. And then everybody pays an equal amount and everybody gets to go. It makes it more affordable for everyone. So for this particular cruise, you can go on a 15-day cruise that will include your main your Lido deck buffet. It will include your main dining room. Now, that doesn't include if you decide to necessarily order, if they have, like you can only have one entree, right? If you decide to get another entree, you'll be charged for it, right? But it depends, because different cruise lines do different things when it comes to that, right? Because it used to be unlimited dining. If they had lobster one night and you wanted 5 lobster, you could get 5 lobsters, right? But most cruise companies don't do that anymore. Now, most of them will give you your first entree or your second entree free, and then anything after that you have to pay some type of supplement. But basically what I'm saying is, you're not going to go hungry if you only pay $606, right? It's going to include your water and the fountain drinks that are out there, like the free juices, and the free coffee. Doesn't include the extras, but that is okay. because you won't go thirsty, right? You're not going to be hungry and you're not going to be thirsty. You're also going to get your room and your bed, right? So basically, your hotel accommodations. You're not paying per gallon for gas to get from point A to point B. That's all on the cruise ship. That's included in your 606. And it's 15 days. So if you know three people, you like three people, and you can be with three people for 15 days and you have $606, I need for you to send me an email to destinationswithdion@gmail.com. And the word of the day today, we're just going to say itinerary, because I'm looking at it and it's just going to be easier for me with the day that I've had today. So send the word itinerary in the subject line. I will send you the form to fill out, read the terms and conditions, get it back to me, and I will go ahead and submit your information, send you the link to make your deposit or to make your full payment. I don't know how long this particular deal is going to go on. When I checked this deal last Wednesday, it was $9.77, because what I do is I check for the deal. I keep my eye on a few things, but I choose my deal of the day basically 2 or 3 hours prior to the broadcast, so that I'm making sure that I'm getting the most up-to-date information. But here's the thing. I have literally watched prices change. Even though a sale might say that it's going on for so long, I will literally watch prices change. And I'm like, that sale said it had 50 something hours left, and that was just yesterday. And it's already changed. So you really have to, if you see the deal, you want the deal, you got to jump on the deal, because it could 100% change. But if it does change, of course, I'll send you what I have. You can decide if you still want to book it. And, and we can still be friends, right? So, now, again, if you didn't catch last week's live, I did this particular cruise last year with just 3 exceptions. We went from Southampton to Le Havre, France, which you dock there to get to Paris. That's the port that you would go to for Paris. So if you're looking for Paris to get to Paris, and you want to know what cruise port is, Le Havre, France. And then we also went to Vigo, Spain. We went to Madeira, Portugal. And we went to, oh my goodness, where was the last one? I have to think about it. France, no, Le Havre. I have to think about it. I seriously lost my train of thought. But we had 2 stops in Spain, and both were really great. I guess I could just go and look at one of my previous videos, and I'd be able to tell you right off exactly where it went. But it was also a 15-day cruise. Now, when I originally booked, it was a solo cruise. And I was, going to London to see Simply Red and Soul to Soul in concert. And the cruise was my way to get back to the US. I flew over using, my mom's Sky Miles, and then took the cruise back. Was there in London for 2 days, and then took the cruise back. But it was such an amazing experience. It was the longest cruise that I had ever been on, and I did not know how I was going to make it, right? I didn't know if I was going to, but I was definitely ready for the challenge. So when I first booked the cruise, my rate as a single traveler was over $2,100. But I booked it in maybe like December of 2024 for an October 2025 departure date. But I kept an eye. Now, one thing that I would say about Princess, I love Princess. I love their ships. I love their beds. Very, very comfortable. I love their staff. I love all of that. But if you don't choose the option for a refundable deposit, you will have a hard, very difficult time trying to get a fair decrease because you see the price drop. Because when you purchase, it always says best guarantee rate, best guarantee rate, best guarantee rate. Now I know that with Carnival, and I haven't I haven't been on Carnival since early last year, but when Carnival has a promotion, typically it was just so easy because I've been traveling with them since 1996. It was just so easy to go and say, "Hey, can I get this deal? Okay, what do I need to do? What changes it? What things change if I take this deal?" And they just switch you. But I found that with Princess, when you book your room, be committed to it. Be committed to it. They have an upgrade process that looks interesting. Um, we have a cruise coming up, and I'm doing an interior room, and I haven't been in an interior room since 1996. So this is going to be really, really, but just checking the rates, calling and trying to get something different. Yeah, be committed to it. Be committed to the room. Be committed to the rate. Because if you have a non-refundable deposit, you're gonna lose your deposit. More than likely, you're gonna lose your deposit, and you'll have to rebook. So basically, I started out at $2,100, and then I saw a fare decrease, and I called, and they said no. Now, for that one, I did have a refundable deposit. So I canceled that cabin, I canceled that room, and booked a different one and got my new rate. Well, then I was checking again, and there was another reduction. But not only was it but I rebooked. I booked it with a non-refundable deposit. I booked the second time with a non-refundable deposit. And so, and with that non-refundable deposit, the oh my goodness, the deal that I was getting, it brought the price of the room from whatever. I can't remember what my second price was. My first price was $2,100. I can't remember what my second price was, but it brought it down to a little over $1,500. It was less than $1,600. And then it also had like a $300 or $350 onboard credit. And so I had the non-refundable deposit, but I'm like, wait a minute. If I cancel and I rebook, yes, I'm $100 to the bad, but I'm getting this $300 onboard credit. And that can be very helpful. And my fare rate also went down a few more hundred. So I was still coming out to the good. So I went ahead and I canceled the second room and booked the third time. This time, again, with a no, that's not what happened. After I booked the second time, had the rate, had the onboard credit. I told the boyfriend about it. And I said, I've got this great rate. And he was like, oh, how much would it be if I went? So I'm at less than $1,600 as my solo rate. So I'm like, probably going to be cheaper. I said, but let me call. And so when I called customer service, I said, hey, I'm thinking about adding someone to the cabin, and I have this price for the cabin. I have this onboard credit. And the woman says to me, you don't have that onboard credit. And I said, yes, I do. Yes, I do. And she said, we're not offering that. And I said, yes, you are. Yes, you are. Because I've booked it. And I'm looking at it. All I'm trying to do was add the boyfriend, right? And trying to figure out what that rate will be if I add the boyfriend. Because I couldn't add him online without completely canceling the reservation that I had, and then rebooking and then putting him on. So I said, I just want to add him but I want this rate and I want my onboard credit. And they said, onboard credit doesn't exist. And I'm like, but it does. And they said, send us a screenshot. So now I'm online with them and I'm sending them screenshots. And they're like, it doesn't exist. It doesn't exist. It doesn't exist. And I'm like, I didn't create this document, right? This document is from your website. It's the deal that I actually have. And so they said, okay, we can get you the deal. No, they said, we have to check and see. They said, because it's, when they gave me the rate, they said, your rate will stay the same. You're just dividing it by 2. And I said, okay, that's fine. But what about the onboard credit? And they said, we'll have to check. So they added the boyfriend. Now, my deposit was non-refundable. I wasn't really interested in losing that $100 again, right? So they had to escalate it. And then when they escalated it, they called me back the next day. And I was already prepared to lose the onboard credit. But the win is the boyfriend was going to come and we'd have a great time. It was going to be our, first big vacation. And so, it was going to be great. So, so when they told me, they said, we cannot give you the onboard credit. I had already gone in and repriced it with me and him. And at that time, it was not showing any kind of onboard credit, and the pricing was higher. So they let me keep that rate. So basically, he and I went on a 15-day transatlantic cruise for $752 per person, which was almost, I guess, basically almost $60 per day per person. But this 15-day cruise, you put 4 people in an interior cabin, you all are traveling at $40.40 per day. $40.40 per day. I roll out of bed and I've already spent $40. It feels like it, right? So imagine going on a 15-day vacation, getting your room, your board, somebody fixes your bed, people fix your breakfast. Right? Entertainment. Let's not forget about the entertainment. They have really great entertainment on those ships too. You got the casino, you got excursions, you got all this stuff that you could do and take advantage of. And your buy-in price was $606. I just don't know how you can get. I mean, you can find some deals, right? You can get that deal, but I'm telling y'all, for a cruise that's going in November, is it hurricane season? It is, but y'all, we can't be worried about that stuff. Listen, there's so much going on these days. I can't be worried about hurricanes. I cannot be worried about them or tropical storms. Can't care. Can't care. Put me on the boat. Reroute us if you need to, but put me on the boat. I'm on the boat. I'm on the boat. So at $606 per person, 4 people in a room, I'm telling you, I would be jumping on this. If I had the time, I'd be jumping on this. And who knows, I might find the time. But having done this trip last year and knowing that I had such a great time. And we had our hiccups, right? We had our hiccups. But everything just really came together, and people on the ship, other people that we, talked to and everything, were really great. Most of the people had been on the ship had already been on the ship for over 20 or 30 days because the cruise was coming from Norway. So it started in Southampton and then it went to Norway and then it came back to Southampton and then it came back to the US. So they were on there for a long time. And, is it an older crowd? Yes. It's a lot of, older retired people because they've got the money, they've got the time. But thank goodness, they still got the energy too. So I can't even be mad at them. Can't even be mad at them for it. Jealous of it, in fact. But if you ever get an opportunity to take a transatlantic cruise, it's definitely something that I would suggest. I am going to start actually looking into a trans-Pacific cruise too to see if I can hit Hawaii and, make my way around the earth this way. So, again, if you're interested in booking this cruise, please send me an email, destinationswithdion@gmail.com, with the subject line itinerary. And then we will go ahead and get you signed up for this one. Well, I have about 3 minutes left. But I just want to say thank you all so much for joining today. And if you just have any questions or anything, please don't hesitate to reach out to me. I work. One thing I told you all, I work a lot. And being a travel agent is something that I'm trying to get into, and there are a lot of travel agents out there. The only thing that I'm seeing right now that's probably making me a little bit different is that I do offer an Amazon e-gift card within 60 days of the completion of your travel, because I don't get paid until you actually complete the travel. So you complete that travel through me with that order still being under me and not moved to another travel agent, and you will receive an Amazon e-gift card. And then the other thing is that my mission is to give to a rescue. And so every October, I'm going to be making a donation. It's going to be $5 from each booking that I do, that's going to go to a cat rescue in honor of my aunt, and for Domestic Violence Awareness Month for October. And so that's just going to become a part of my actual mission, to definitely to give back. So I want to thank you all again so much for joining. I hope to see you next week. And don't forget, when fun is your destination, the possibilities are endless. Enjoy the rest of your evening. Travel